because they didn't like it, but they were focusing on stories for the first trilogy. And Biggs is in the second trilogy, first film.
With the concrete story, which has probably garnered the most attention, is Think Like a Mountain. I'd like you just to talk about that a little bit in general, and then maybe what your thoughts are in retrospect, how successful you think it was in retrospect.
That's my favorite, actually. It's a story in which Concrete, he's a former politico, so he's a work within the system, convince people by reasonable argument type environmentalist, is approached by some radicals, and they slowly radicalize him. And I think that process is pretty interesting. I think we're all capable of that if we just examine the truth. There are a lot of horrible things going on in this world that we deny because they're so uncomfortable. There's lots of slavery and sexual exploitation, and we're poisoning this planet pretty quickly. And to get through the day, you can't carry that burden on your shoulder day in, day out. But in this case, they lay it all on Concrete and get him to become a monkey wrencher.
Did you ever flirt with radical environmentalism at all yourself?
Well,
flirt is a great word here.
Flirt, yeah. I can't tell you about that. No. It was a bit of a hit. The series was a bit of a hit with the Earth First crowd, and I wound up doing a cover for their journal. But and I rubbed shoulders with some of these characters up on San Juan Island, the Sea Shepherd Society. Moore's the Sea Shepherd there, and there's a little group called the Natural Guard, which has organized some tree sets that Ben White, my good friend, organized. He's battling an incredible battle with cancer right now, but I can't paint myself as an out there activist. These people make great sacrifices in their lives, and get fat FBI records that and shun careers to do the right thing. And my hands off to them, and the best I can do is celebrate them in my comics.
It's one of the things, Concrete is very much an idea-oriented comic, I would say. That it typically, whether it's a short story or bigger, you're tackling some idea you find interesting, and then find various characters that are representing the different possible points of view. And then, of course, it gets more complex.
It sounds pretty boring, doesn't it? There are a lot of gags. There's a fair amount of sex in this new series, and even some suspense.
And I'm supposed to be a salesman at Danger Room, too. Read this. It's very idea-based and slow-paced. Nothing quite like it. I read it before bed every night. But what I was building to was, it seems like, my guess is that Concrete kind of represents a more naive version of yourself. It's as if you're saying, well, what would I do if I didn't really know anything about what's being thrown at me? Is there anything to that? Gotta ask one of these questions at least.
An essay question. Well, it kind of goes back to what I said when we started, that like a lot of cartoonists, I write about what I'm anxious about, and it's a way of processing it, and research is part of that process. So I learn a lot of things, and I try to put them in the books, and I try to be even-handed about it too, because I don't. Well, there are some real villains in this world. It's true, but they have strong reasons that are worth understanding for doing what they do.
So if we can compare, you're concerned about environmental pollution, overpopulation. Pete Bagg is concerned about running out of ballot better. Sorry, Pete.
Peter's done a great new series about
Oh, that's true.
Nuclear anxiety, nuclear war anxiety, which really touched me.
Finally, could you tell us a little bit about your work on the Matrix Online and involvement with the Wachowski brothers?
Matrix Online is a massively multiplayer online role-playing game. Work, as we call it down at Monolith. It means there are thousands of people playing in a virtual kind of greenish city who know kung fu and can jump from rooftop to rooftop. But there's an ongoing story week by week too that's unfolding, and you might run into Morpheus, or it's a sequel to the Matrix movies, so Neo and Trinity and everyone else who died is not in our game. But my job has been to write sort of the global story, and there are people who write little mission stories that happen when you go on missions and so on. It's like all video games, very cleverly designed to be as addictive as possible, and people spend tens of hours a week playing it. It's a strange medium for a storyteller because you can't be sure everyone gets the same information at the right moment. So, you know, a ticking time bomb and got to do just this to defuse it. The standard toolbox of suspense is sort of denied you. But you sort of spray and move a story in several directions and hope everybody picks it up. For one thing, you have characters who are being played by people down at the office who pass on rumors and information. There are little movies that play in-game that are called cinematics. And they come out every couple of weeks that advance the story. There's a newspaper published in the city. You just click on one of the vending boxes and it's a pop-up window. And I write that each week. And then there are other word puzzles that you can decipher on advertising signs. And I don't know, it's been a great experience in that I'm working with people who in another era would be working at NASA. Every one of them is just brilliant. And after years and years of freelancing, it is great to have a steady paycheck. And it's a good property too. I think there's plenty more stories to tell about virtual reality, since we're going to be dealing with it for at least another century or so before the asteroid hits. And there are funny stories and tragic stories and love and betrayal and all that stuff that can be filtered through that metaphor.
Well, we've got to end now. We'll be talking with Paul again later at the expo, so you can catch him there. And he'll be signing at Danger, of course. Thank you very much.
Thank you.